Every single day, I'm gonna make something.
Hey everybody, Scott Roberts here with Jerry Hubble and Arya Barujani in customer service. And so you'll notice a couple of things weird about this show. Okay, one is that we have the wrong date. We have a new guy. All right. And you have to guess, I guess, what the other one is. But
Arya's not strange. What are you talking about?
well, no, he was telling me some weird stuff. He was. No, Arya's a great guy. He's new to customer service, and I promised I would bring some new people on, and you guys could meet up with our customer service people one by one. So I'm really excited to have him on, and I hope you're excited to be on too, Arya. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Ready to be thrown at the wolves.
the wolves. Okay, that's what they were.
Well, you didn't know this
about.
was a pop quiz time.
They wanted to know if they could play Stump the Rep. Okay,
That's
so
right, Stump the Rep.
It would be pretty easy to, I mean, come on, but I bet we can stump them. So, anyhow,
We play Stump the Customer all the time.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep. So, Ari, how long have you been with us now?
We're closing in beginning of August. We'll be at the 6-month mark. So
Mark. Okay. Well, you've done a really good job.
I appreciate it. It's gone by in a blink of an eye. It's been a great time here every day.
Yeah. It's I know it's often a challenge because you get every kind of question thrown at you, and so, and being new to the business, there's all kinds of new stuff. Now this is of course the OpenGOTO Community show, and Ari answers questions all the way from our bird camera feeder,
how to turn that bird feeder camera on, to the most intricate question you can think of with the PMC-8 systems or any one of our telescopes. I mean, the range is endless on the style of questions and what product will get it about.
Yeah. So what do you do how do you handle something if you don't have the answer for it? I mean, that's like every customer service rep's nightmare. They get asked a question
So luckily, I mean, first of all, I always like to be straightforward with the customer. I'll be like, listen, this is above my knowledge level. Give me a moment, and I'll have them on hold for as short of a period of time as possible. And luckily we have so many, as both of you guys know, we have so many great people here in the office that are jumping at the ability to help others, that it just takes narrowing it down to whose brain do I want to pick for that.
Right. Yeah. And
just go from there, and it turns into both a learning experience for myself and for the customer. So
right.
Always learning new stuff, which is great.
Right. Well, I see. We have a retail store here too, and I often see you out there working with the customers. And I'll tell you, for someone that's just starting out, you're doing a great job. So
I greatly appreciate that, because
anyhow, today our show is, you guys saw like a little video clip at the beginning there. I saw that they were flashing the PMC-8s this morning for the Exos 100 product.
That's not with a trench coat or anything, is it?
It should have been. It should have been. Yeah, I don't know. Those chips.
Now, you might want to tell people what flashing the PMC-8 means.
Well, what they're doing is they're writing firmware to the chips. So.
Right.
Yeah. So you're the guy that wrote the program, correct?
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Maybe you could tell them.
No, no, this is a quiz.
Well, I never flashed anything before in my life.
Well, you need to get
a
with
chip
Alex
anyway. So So
yeah.
anyhow,
So were you going to show a video of that, or that was just the intro thing?
that was just a little intro thing. It was
Oh,
just
I
kind of
see.
fun to, Jonathan used to work with us in customer service a few years ago. He's now working in QA. He came back to us, which is kind of cool. And I was taking some little quickie videos, did a little mix, and I thought it would be fun to show some behind the scenes kind of stuff, which is kind of cool. Mike Overacker is joining us. We got James the astrophotographer, Tim Husby. Is that correct? I don't know. Hope so. And Wolfgang from Germany is joining us here. So, yeah. So Ari, I don't know if you know this, but we get like an international audience. We have people from the UK, Germany, sometimes India, Canada, Australia. So it's kind of cool. Charles Lewis, hello. Nice to see you join us. So we've got a lot of people joining us right now. Jim Norwood. How is it that Scott and Jerry are sitting at the same desk? Uh-oh. So, Jim, that was the secret correct answer for our door prize today.
That's right. We were waiting to see how long it took.
All right, Jim, you send an email to Kent at explorescientific.com, and you will win a red flashlight. So.
Oh, is that what you're giving away?
That's what I'm giving away today. Yeah, because
Okay,
I'm wearing
cool.
my red shirt.
Oh, that's right. It's a red.
That's right. You can't get your night vision damaged by looking at me. So other things would get damaged by looking at me, but
just your vision in general.
Like
it's not
your psychological balance. He was Tim wants to know if your background is a green screen or similar. Of course. No, actually sitting in the same spot I'm standing in. Okay, it's just a dimensional change that we're doing.
That's right. I'm off to the side.
You can see he's kind of like beaming in and out.
That's
So.
right. You'll see us interchange ourselves here.
Dusty Haskins says, Aria, no pressure. You're only in front of 30,000 people from all over the world.
No pressure at all there.
He actually is nervous. He's nervous right now. So, and that's normal. Okay, guys. So the first time I did a show, you have no idea how nervous I was. So, and sometimes I do get nervous. I have to go in front of people, and I've had to talk in front of 500 people one time.
That's the biggest audience I ever talked to. I gave a talk in 2012 in front of at the University of Mary Washington, at 500 people right before a concert. I gave a presentation on the planets because they were going to do the Holtz planets at the concert, and I gave a talking about comparing the planets at Holtz time, what they thought about the planets and what we had thought about it today. So that was kind of cool.
So were you nervous? Was your voice shaking?
I was a little bit. I also got to, believe it or not, I can prove it. I got to talk at the Senate in the Capitol, in the Senate office building, to a group about nuclear energy and the renaissance of nuclear power. I was invited to talk there and got a nice plaque and everything. It was kind of cool. I was real nervous there. Because I was talking in front of a bunch of retired generals and admirals and all these people that I can't remember the group, but they were a philanthropy group of these insiders in Washington, D.C. that I talked to. They were interested in what was going on with nuclear energy. This was back in, I think it was like 2008 when I did that. Excellent.
Well, now hopefully there's some senators watching today. We don't know. Got some great comments there. Got some great comments. Let's see. Dave Connolly wants to know which one of us is in the evil universe.
Oh, like in Star Trek?
It's me.
I don't have my Corona beard, so I'm like a Spock beard.
Yeah, and Wolfgang says, Ari, you have to learn German. So, yeah, We expect you to do all the translations for us. So
that's the one thing on the pre-show list I didn't get to check
You
off
didn't
was
check
learning
that.
German.
That's my fault, guys. I had this list for him. So anyhow, oh, James the astrophotographer says he was on the Howard Stern show back in 2002. Good Lord.
Oh, that's cool.
That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully we're nicer than Howard Stern was. I don't know. Maybe is Howard Stern a nice guy off microphone, or is he even worse? So we don't know. But anyways, we do have a show to do today. So some of the topics we had, Jerry, is we were going to talk about resources, okay, that
All
we
right,
have for
right.
PMC-Eight, these are resources that we use in customer service. They find them on our website. Of course, this is a resource here, being able to be on live with you and to talk with you, and so to get your questions answered. A little disclosure: we had Terry Larriman, I think is this guy's name, that was talking to us yesterday. He is unfortunately on the road. We were going to, Jerry and I were going to connect up with him live and troubleshoot his PMC-8 system on this broadcast. But he said he could do it next Monday, so we'll do it next Monday. But why don't you
cool.
share your screen, Jerry?
And I've already got it. I've already got it
up
shared.
there?
Do you see it?
All right. Let me get to it here. There we go. Yep. Okay.
All right. So I want to. So this is the primary resource you want to, as a beginner, you want to come to our website. And this is the front page. You'll see the banner up top there that goes through a bunch of different things. We're highlighting some of our products. And then you'll scroll down here. You'll see there's a bunch of stuff at the bottom, but I don't want to talk about that yet. So what I want you to go to, if you're looking for support for any product, now we're talking about the PMC-8 today. So under the support pull down, there's the knowledge base, but there's also the getting started with the PMC-8. That's a prime source of information right there.
Right.
And I've got this picture of Scott and I when we were in.
We were driving 100 miles an hour with our eyes shut. Right.
Right, and Scott had his hands off the wheel.
Off the wheel.
But this is a little. I need to do a little bit of work on this to update it. But there's a lot of links through here, and I talk about the different things that we have. So this is something just to read through and click on all the different links. There's some videos there. There's some pages that we have. Something to get you started to start understanding what the PMC-8 is all about is what this is. The next thing that I want to point out is, again, on the support page, is the PMC-8 software and downloads. And this is where you'll come to get the Explorestars app, and you'll get some more information about what Explorestars is. You can also, we've got the PMC-8 ASCOM driver and configuration manager here to download. Some firmware if you want to download it this way, but there's an alternative way of getting the firmware installed, and that's on the PMC-8 configuration manager. And then we'll scroll down further and you'll see there's the ASCOM driver that you can install with the ASCOM and the ASCOM platform too. I want to tell everybody that recently the ASCOM standards group organization has released version 6.5 of the ASCOM platform, but you can download and install a previous version of the platform also. It's available to you there. There's also the Indy driver that was developed by Michael Fulbright, and he was on one of our previous programs. I can't remember which one it was, but that was a great introduction to the Indy driver.
Right.
And then we talk about the OpenGOTO community, which is what this show is all about. The forum and everything to deal with the OpenGOTO systems.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a link to the knowledge base, and then there's a software development kit and a programmer's reference, and that's the stuff at the bottom, because that's the least favorite stuff for beginners.
The least favorite. Yeah, because it
gets into the gory details.
You know, people have trouble sleeping.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
get the programmer's reference out, you know. And,
yeah, exactly.
And you know,
we try to be as transparent as we can on our systems. We try to provide as much information as we can get away with, basically. But it's hard to find sometimes. But these are the main places you come to find the bulk of our information.
Right.
So there's one other location for information. It's on our webpage that, as a beginner, you would really want to know. And that's down here at the bottom. You've got the support area. And this has got a link to the software download, this knowledge base, but the catalogs and instruction manuals, you want to go here and go to the Explore Scientific manuals. And this is where you'll find an older version of our product catalog. You'll find an introduction manual. You'll find, and then you'll find the PMC-Eight manuals. We have a general PMC-Eight manual, and then we have the Exos 100 specific PMC-Eight manual.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to bring that up. And this looks pretty much like the manual that you get.
When you get one
with the product. That's
sure.
Right.
It is the manual you get.
That's right. This is the product. This is the manual you get with the product. So if you need it, it's online, available to you there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other different things here too. That's kind of neat. Looks like you've added a bunch of stuff since I last looked at it. So that's the main. So this support menu item is your friend. I guess I could point out the last thing is a knowledge base. This is not pretty. This is an early version of the knowledge base that we had. It's basically a bunch of articles that are linked here. So this is where that get started one that I showed you first was that. But then you got so let's look at the beginner FAQs. This is basically just a bunch of questions that beginners might ask and have questions about. You know, why does my mount stop tracking when the computer goes to sleep, or Explorestar's application stops working? That's a typical question, and we talked about it on the program here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
right. You know, Arya's got he was telling me about a scenario with the PMC-Eight that he was working with recently. What happened, Arya? What was the deal?
So yeah, it was a customer that I had personally I had sold him the Exos 2 G2 with PMC-Eight, and then he'd gotten it, and he had contacted us while I had been out of the office, and so he had talked with Kent about it, trying to get it working. He talked with Samir about it, trying to get it to work. He said he even got on Facebook one night and got connected with a gentleman out in the UK who was trying to help him. And like he was convinced, there was something wrong with the box, and I was like, okay, I was like, let's just take a look at it. And he's like, I've shown everybody, I've shown pictures. I was like, okay, just let's take a look at the pictures. And all this frustration and head scratching on both ends. We were just like, what's going on with it?
Mm-hmm.
After I went through my basic troubleshooting over the phone before asking for the photos, and then once he finally sent it, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. It should just be an easy fix. The cable was plugged into the wrong place. Still, and that still didn't fix it. Still was like, what's going on? And then it took Kent walking by my cubicle and me having it pulled up, trying to look at it.
Yeah.
And he was like, what are they? Why is the Wi-Fi dongle plugged in? And I go, that's a really good question. And so I immediately, because I told him I'd call him back once I had the answer. I immediately picked it. I was like, I think I have it. I was like, I think I finally got rid of everything that we've been worried about.
Right.
Got it on, and because I mean he was to the point of, you know, because we all get there when we get frustrated enough and we're just ready to say quits, and he was right there. But luckily I was like, let's try taking that out and restarting the iPad real quick and see what happens. And since then, it's been working flawlessly. And he actually emailed me today, thanking me again, telling me how well it works now. So, just little stuff like that.
That's an interesting. I don't know if it's unfortunate or what it is, but the fact that we chose that format and that interface to change Wi-Fi channels, and it's depicted as it's described as a Wi-Fi channel selector. So now you got this Wi-Fi term in your head, and you say, "Oh, that looks like an antenna."
Yeah.
And this is where it goes.
Yeah, but we've got this 4-inch long antenna.
We do have another antenna, but on the iExos 100, it is.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
It would be a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, so we've run into that a few times.
Right. So jumping kind of back to the resources a little bit, Dusty Haskins is asking, what's the difference between the regular manual and the Exos 100?
No.
It's just so the regular manual was the first edition that's related to the G11 and the Exos 2 mounts.
Yeah.
It's got very much the same information, but then the iExos 100 mount is sufficiently different because it uses a different format on the controller, and it's a little bit different. It looks different. It doesn't have the big box on it, so that's why we have a separate manual. But they're substantially the same. I would say 90% the same. But you know, take a look at them and scroll through them, and you'll see there's some things for the light pattern. There's lights on the G11 Exos 2 big box, where you don't have that on the iExos 100. That type of thing is different.
Right. Tim Husby says, this might be off topic. I'm wondering, do I need to be connected via serial for guiding, or can it be done via Wi-Fi?
You can do either way. The wireless and the serial communications is the same, practically the same. It's just the media, of course, and but the functionality is identical either way. Now, the reliability is another thing to think about. Wi-Fi is not going to be as reliable as the serial interface because it's hardwired. But other than that, they basically are identical. And that either one, you can still use the ST4 port if you're doing an on-camera selection on your guiding. But we always suggest that you use the pulse guiding ASCOM interface because it's much better.
Mm-hmm.
And you get rid of a cable that you don't want to snag on anything.
Exactly. Let's see. So Astro Beard is saying that he said that a 65-foot powered USB cable is the best astrophotography accessory I've ever bought. Sitting in the air-conditioned command center all night last night, getting images and no file transfers.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he says that he got Chuck Ayub from Chuck's Astrophotography recommended it, so he said he knew it would work. Yeah, Chuck has been incredible help for the astronomical community. Tim Husby says, thanks to the OpenGOTO Community Forum, I was able to use Stellarium after getting really frustrated and switching to the Xstars app, which was great. So thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. And so let's move on. We wanted to talk about, Jerry and I were talking about a lecture that you had given a few months ago. Was it Astronomy Club, or who were you giving?
This was actually a month and a half ago. It was my local astronomy club. I gave a talk.
Yeah, called the Future of Amateur Astronomy, right?
Right, exactly. So I don't know. Let me see if I got that up here now.
I've
I
got
do.
it. I've got it up here.
Okay, go ahead and do you
All
want to
right.
share it?
Let's start off with that. Now, we're not going to do the full talk
No,
here.
no, you're gonna just tell me what top. I think
I'm going to tell you
we're
what
gonna
to
just
say,
talk in
right?
general. No, I think we're going to talk about the first item on the list, the outline.
Okay, the first item on that list was, what does the
Right.
future look like for the amateur astronomy community? But I think you also kind of defined what an amateur astronomer is.
Right. What is it? What is an amateur astronomer? What does that really mean? That was my first thing. So I'm going to show. I'm not sharing my screen right now, right?
No.
Okay. I don't want to. I was just going to pull this up for myself so I could see what I. So what's the definition of an amateur astronomer? Basically, today's amateur astronomers have access to equipment that's very similar in capability to what professionals had only 20 years ago, 30 years ago, especially in terms of imaging and telescope and observatory control systems are very much state of the art in the amateur world, and in fact they're more modern than a lot of telescopes are out there in the professional land. And the small for a professional is like a 1 meter telescope system, and or maybe a little bit less. But a lot of those systems still, those observatories are run by colleges and universities, and they might not have the budget to upgrade those systems to more modern stuff like we have today. Those systems could be 10, 15 years old, and they're not as capable as what we have as an amateur astronomer today. So that's a big thing. So amateurs, basically, I would say amateurs have access to professional level equipment. That's a big thing. That's been most recent in the last 5 or 10 years. Traditional visual observing activities, there's a new thing called electronically assisted astronomy, EAA, which use live video astronomy to show, it's a difference between looking at an eyepiece at a faint fuzzy and understanding what it is, and then actually seeing an integrated video system, which is what the electronically assisted astronomy people use to show live deep sky objects that are live, basically.
Right.
And that's a big difference now. So,
have you done any EAA work yourself, Jerry?
Back in 2011, 2012, I bought a camera like those video cameras. What's the company that's famous for that? I can't even remember the name. They're start with the letter M. I can't remember. There's a company that sells these cameras that are very good. They're excellent. Malincams, yeah, that's right. I bought an equivalent to a Malincam from Orion back in 2012, and I used it a few times. It's a little different than what you do with normal CCD and CMOS cameras. The setup's a little different. It's a live video feed. It's as opposed to an integrating still camera. Or even like a planetary camera, although planetary cameras today are very much like that also.
So did you use it for astronomy outreach purposes?
Yeah, for outreach, right. It's nice to be able to set up a monitor, depending on how, you want to be dark adapted, but you don't want all this electronic equipment out there to shine in your face. But if your goal is to share the sky with a group of people that aren't astronomers, that are just everyday people, that they don't know about dark sky adaptation, and to look at, you're there to introduce them to the equipment and to the objects that you're looking at. You're not really there to teach them how to do deep sky observing per se.
Right.
It's just an introduction. That's a big difference. Some people, I guess most people, when you go to a star party, you run into all these rules all of a sudden, right? That you have to get, and it can be a little daunting for beginners that have never looked at anything in the sky. If they go to a star party and they find that they can't have their flashlight, and they have to stumble around and look at stuff. I've done outreach in the Washington D.C. at the Capitol and at the foot of the Washington Monument several times.
That's cool.
And we had several thousand people line up for 8 hours. I was at the scope with a line of 50 people.
Man,
that was the most intense outreach things that I've ever done at the mall. But it was great. Everybody was great. Everybody was very interested in what we were looking at. We were just looking at the moon and Saturn or Jupiter.
Sure.
A lot
of people have never seen those things,
Right, exactly. And we had great questions. Everybody was very friendly, great questions, It was pretty awesome.
Right.
So that we got a little sidetracked, but
well, that's all right. We're getting some interesting comments and questions here too. Jim Norwood wants to ask a general astrophotography question. He says, "Am I unnecessarily beating my head against the wall trying to use a big Nikon camera body on my telescope, unguided?"
Which is
that depends on your focal
length. Should I go
length.
ahead and get one of the cute little red cameras like a ZWO or something?
So there's two things to consider on your question. One is the focal length of the lens. If the DSLR works fine with unguided. If you have a short focal length, like I would limit it to 200 millimeter focal length lenses, which gives you a nice, good wide field for a lot of objects. You should be able to get good results. I'm assuming you're using the iExos 100 mount, but even if it's the Exos 2 mount, either one, you should be able to do 1 minute unguided pretty easily, I think, with the 200 millimeter lens.
Yes.
The other thing to consider if you're really going to get serious about imaging is the noise problem that DSLRs have. That's when you would want to go to a cooled CMOS or CCD camera.
Especially during the summer, a lot of people, say that they can't really use their DSLRs very well during the summertime. That would certainly be true here in Arkansas because it can be still in the high 80s at night. So it's definitely a fall wintertime type of instrument at that point. But the cool cameras do an excellent job, though. Yeah. All right. And if you're like Gary Palmer, you get several different cameras for getting different sky conditions, different sizes of objects that are in the sky, different focal length telescopes, this kind of thing. I think he owns more cameras than he does telescopes, and that's saying a lot because he has a lot of telescopes. Let's see. Dusty Haskins was asking us about the EAA light. He says, "Are you talking like the Stellina?" The Stellina is one of the new generation type of telescopes that's out there. They're kind of pricey, but they do give you kind of that almost live effect. So. Charles Lewis wanted to know, is there any news on the ST4 port move to hand controller project?
We're looking at that.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right. Tim Husby, I think the future looks great for amateur astronomy, especially since a lot of us are at home and not working. Thanks to Explore Scientific, I'm a 55-plus-year-old kid. Thanks for making it accessible. You're welcome, Tim. Let's see. James, the astrophotographer, is advising you can get going with the DSLR and upgrade later. That's true. Start with what you got.
That's always good advice for everything, even if you have a pair of binoculars that are sitting in the closet.
That's right. Tim says, I've done 150 millimeter, 300 millimeter field of view, M4/3 camera unguided and really got great spot stars. So I guess he did a very good job with the guiding. That's great. Astrobeard says fall, winter is my favorite time to be out anyways, especially with no wires and no mosquitoes. How about that? Yeah. And Wolfgang says, in our observatory, we have a guy. He makes photos with a modified DSLR, exposure times to 30 minutes. But he doesn't use darks because the chip noise will be more disturbed than the pictures. Okay.
That's interesting.
Does EOS plan on offering a flat field refractor in the future? Jenny, you just never know. Okay, we have lots of designs on the table. So,
I can say generally in our product, we're not leaving anything off the table and searching for new products. Let's put it that way.
That's very true. Yeah. Gary Palmer from the UK is joining us, processing tonight's moon while watching the show. So he's got a link to his stuff there. You guys should go check it out.
Awesome.
Yep. And Steve says, awesome to Tim and Ken. So that's all of our comments for so far. I think I got them all, guys. If I missed one, let me know. We'll get to it. But let's go to the another part of your lecture here.
Yeah. So
Jerry, I'm going to have you give that whole lecture at one point here. So I think they'll be really cool. But go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the other things about being the difference between amateur and professionals that I want to point out to everybody is that it's less a matter of equipment and capabilities. Now we're getting to an even playing field between professional and amateurs and types of equipment and the performance that we have access to. Now, we can't rival the huge telescopes, but in day-to-day work and the follow-up work especially that professionals need done is in the amateur realm. And so we're on par with professionals, just that our area of expertise is a little bit different than their area. Mm-hmm. But I consider us all astronomers. I try not to say amateur or professional astronomer anymore. I try to say you're an astronomer.
That's right.
And the difference really is whether you're getting paid to observe or not. But you're getting paid because you love observing. So
that's true.
You're not getting cash.
You can something better than cash. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes professionals don't have a choice on what they want to observe, I guess. It depends on the work they're doing.
You know, I think it's one aspect that I do know about the professional world of astronomy is how competitive it is. You know, they are all vying for scope time, you know, to get on the big observatories or any of the observatories, because to keep an observatory running, it has to stay super productive. So the scheduling is really, really important for that. Kind of unrelenting. I think if you're scheduled with a lot of these observatories, especially some of the top observatories, if it's cloudy during the nights that they give you, then that's kind of too bad, you know?
Yeah, you're SOL at that point.
Yeah, you have to get back in line.
Reapply.
You know?
Yeah, you have to get back in line.
Right. And then in the meantime, you've got other people who are also competing for the same science funding that you're competing for. So, you know, your lectures, your science papers, your data, and all the rest of it, you know, the guys that get the correct data first, you know, are in a better position. So it's ultra competitive, and you know, and sometimes not in a very friendly way. You know, most amateur astronomers are extremely friendly to each other. You know, we feel like we're kind of in this fraternity that stretches out since people first looked up at the sky, you know, and you know, it's because we all get that feeling when we're underneath the dome of the Milky Way, and that kind of gosh, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it feels very sacred, you know, and so I think that's where astronomers are always trying to share what they have, share their experiences, share their love of the sky. So
Right.
Ula
There's
Dre,
one
go ahead. Go ahead.
there's one last thing I wanted to say about what an amateur astronomer is. And it's different than it was like 30 or 40 years ago. Back then, a lot of amateurs built their own optics, or ground their own optics and built their own telescope tubes and their mounts. They constructed everything in that regard. Today, most astronomers don't have a way to build their own cameras, although that has been done. But today we're system integrators, where we have a large number of manufacturers that have equipment now compared to what it was 30 years ago. The growth in the manufacturing and the number of businesses that are involved with astronomy is amazing to me. There's hundreds of companies that you can pick and choose and build and design and build your own system and integrate the components yourself. So we've become more system integrators than telescope makers, AMTs, or ATMers is what they're called, amateur telescope makers in the day, where they ground their mirror and built their tube, created their mount
and everything.
Right, exactly. So that's
amateurs have made some really cool things, though. I've seen it over the years.
Now there are there's still room for innovation that astronomers today that don't get paid. I'm going to say it that way.
Right. Or even professionals that
they're innovative.
Like they get paid. So
right. So they have a limited budget. They have to make do with what they have, and they come up with some ingenious devices to solve their problem. And that's what we have the opportunity to do.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and there's with electronics getting better, software getting better, faster internet speeds, all that stuff. It's we live in a golden age of astronomy, and amateur astronomers are very, very involved in that. So it's a great time to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of comes almost to the end of our show here, Jerry. Aria, it's been good to have you on to our show.
Do we have a stump Aria question?
Stump Aria question.
Let's solicit a question.
But Tyler Bowman, who actually worked here on Saturday, he was here last Saturday, and so he's thinking about the possibility of working at Explore Scientific. So it was great to have him check things out here and to work with us. But he says, nice to meet you. And Steve Armeling, he says, you mentioned another way to do guiding other than the ST4 port, but I didn't quite catch it. Can you mention it again?
Yeah, so the ASCOM platform and the interface to the mount has a function or method called pulse guiding, where instead of sending pulses out from the camera directly to the ST4 port as the old style, like an old style hand controller was with the north, south, east, west buttons would do.
Yeah.
It just sends a command out from the camera to the mount to say slow down or speed up this amount of time by this rate, and it's much more precise control than what you have with the ST4 port, I would say, because there's considerations that are taken into account, because the ASCOM like PhD2 knows where the mount is pointed at, so it knows how much the mount should move based on its declination, in RA to speed up or slow down. So it knows that information, so it can be a little smarter in calibration and in the guiding. So it's called pulse guiding. If you look up the ASCOM pulse guiding, if you search it on Google, you'll find out all about it.
Right. Excellent. Okay, somebody did want to try to stump you, Aria. Okay.
There we go.
And I don't know this answer either off the top of my head. Okay.
That's
All
why
right.
you pay
What's the
Aria the big
stump?
bucks.
Okay.
Right.
So who's trying to do this? Astrobeard. Okay. So he says stump question mark. What's the thread size on your 2-inch focuser extensions?
Oh,
Do you know this one?
what? I want to say M48 is the thread, but I know that's not it. But it might. I actually want to figure this out afterwards to see what it is, and
I do
I'll
not.
keep that one on the
I
back
don't know it. I know
burner.
Jerry doesn't know it either. So
No,
I just
no.
think somebody had asked me this earlier on the phone this week, and that's the only reason I remember. I think that it's M48 is the thread pitch on that. Or, sorry, I mixed up my words there, but you guys understood what I was trying to say.
Yeah, we understand. We understand. All right. Well, that's cool. Somebody did want to thank you, Arya, because they had made a purchase from you about an hour ago. So,
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad they hopped
yeah,
on here.
yeah, that was Steve Armeling.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so he's happy to see you on the camera. And Tyler
happy to
Bowman
talk to
says he
you.
thinks it's M48 as well.
So not stumped today then. We'll just say I'm right until somebody proves me wrong. How about that?
That's
right.
right. Yeah.
That's the way I do
Well,
it.
Arya, when you get married, do not use that argument. Okay? Let's just say I'm right until we prove I'm wrong. Okay. Because after
Yeah,
you get married, you're always wrong. Okay. So
until I'm proven right, and even then I was still wrong, right?
that's funny. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Arya, thanks for jumping in on this with us. And
Yeah, thank you
hope to have you
guys for
back
letting me
again
hop on.
sometime. And you guys all have a great evening. Before we go, I did want to say that we have figured out the team that's going to do our virtual star party. So it's going to include Jerry, okay, because he's gonna ramp up the MSRO. It will be Richard Grace, okay, will be involved in it. David on the West Coast and Alberto Levy on the West Coast. So we've got an East Coast, West Coast star party. We are going to figure out how to schedule it because we want to have kind of a staggered schedule in case of clouds. So I think that being on the East Coast and West Coast, we're kind of dividing up our risk a little bit. Maybe we would have clear skies in the east and clouds in the west or something like that. But anyways, I'm looking forward to doing it. We will organize that and try to get that going in the next week or two. So stay tuned. And you guys have a great night and clear skies to everyone.